Hey there friends, the media is still your enemy. First guys, I want to show you something pretty cool. You probably recognize the front portion of this rifle by CMMG. It's the Descent. It's got the forward charging handle. Have you seen this? How cool is that? Essentially, it's a Descent AR front with a, let's just call it a Remington 870 Magpul tactical buttstock on the back side of it. This is the profile of gun that I grew up with. I didn't grow up with AR-15s. I probably didn't have my first AR-15 until probably the middle 90s before I bought my first AR-15. I had shot them obviously, but had never purchased one. This is really cool because I feel like I'm at home with these old school controls or layout, if you will, of the BR4 by CMMG. I really encourage you to check this out. Of course, I have a Gideon optic on it. Also, this thing is my new favorite. Look for a review on this very, very soon. If you're interested in something like this, they got a website. I can't point you to it, and I'm not going to point you to it. And I heard that if you use a code that I have a t-shirt that says FTATF on it, you will actually meet some kind of a discount. But I'm not sending you there. I'm just telling you that it does, in fact, exist. Check them out. The BR4 by CMMG. This thing is sweet, and again, it's my new favorite. Yeah, friends, as long as the state-run media continues to get paid for and controlled by the same people it's controlled by, it will have a political agenda and an axe to grind for anything conservative. That includes the Second Amendment.
To turn now to the manhunt in Alabama. Officials are searching for the gunman who opened fire on a crowd of people Saturday night, killing 4, wounding more than a dozen others. Stephanie Ramos is in Birmingham with the latest for us. Good morning to you, Stephanie.
Robin, good morning. We are right outside that lounge where the shooting happened. Police believe one person who was killed was the intended target. The others caught in the crossfire.
This morning, police are on the hunt for multiple suspects who they say fired into a crowd in a busy entertainment district in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 and injuring more than a dozen. It was around 11 p.m. on Saturday. Police racing to the city's historic 5 Points South area near the campus of the University of Alabama at Birmingham, finding at least 21 victims. Video showing a harrowing scene, victims laying on the sidewalk. Police now saying at least one of the 4 people killed is believed to be an intended target.
We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed.
24-year-old Gabriel Islami tells us he was standing outside a lounge with friends when he heard the gunshots.
I heard the gunshots, I ran. And there wasn't even a few seconds into running, then out of nowhere, I just couldn't feel my leg, and I fall. And I get up, because it didn't even resonate with me that I got shot.
Islami recounting those terrifying moments as he recovers at home.
I get up and I kind of turn around and look back, and you just see a horror movie of a scene. I mean, there's bodies on the sidewalk. There's smoke from the guns covering the area.
Authorities say multiple suspects jumped out of a vehicle, opening fire on a group standing outside, and then ran off.
It was just really general chaos and pandemonium. This gentleman just kept screaming, "That's my sister."
And investigators now say they believe the firearms involved in the shooting were converted to fully automatic using a so-called gun switch. Around 100 shell casings collected at the scene. Police appealing for the public's help.
The first thing and the priority is to get these shooters, find these shooters and get them off our streets.
Authorities releasing the identities of 3 of the victims overnight. 21-year-old Anitra Holloman and 27-year-olds Taj Booker and Carlos McCain are among the victims. Local police are now working with the ATF and the FBI as they continue this investigation, Rebecca.
Just caught in the crossfire on a night out.
The people who continue to call these things mass shootings when they are clearly and unequivocally gang-related, those people can also kiss my ass because they are liars, they are politicians, and if you cannot be honest about the true root cause of a problem, you are not honest about solving that problem. Therefore, that tells me you're okay with these things continuing to happen. All these people are okay with these things continuing to happen because they don't want to know the root cause because it points at them. And they continue to vomit the same lies as the state-run media and all these anti-gun politicians out there. There is a problem across this entire country. It ain't mass shootings. You can cite the Gun Violence Archive all you want. That is a lie database. It is built on lies. If you take the lies out of the Gun Violence Archive, their website shrivels up and there's no reason for it to exist anymore. I show this every single month. Over 90% of the issues that they classify as mass shootings from coast to coast across this entire country are gang related, or, if this makes you feel better, confrontational shootings. Now, I call them confrontational because it's two people that have a problem with each other. It may be two groups of people, like this Birmingham shooting. But nevertheless, it is groups of people who have beefs with one another. It's not a sociopath who's over-medicated, abused, and bullied, who decides to go out and kill as many people as possible. But that's the false claim whenever they call them mass shootings, because your mind immediately goes there, because the state-run media has conditioned everybody to think when they hear the words mass shooting that it is that sociopath out there killing people randomly. That's not it. 90% of what they claim are those types of shootings are happening in your backyard, and everybody's turning the other way because local politicians want it, and local politicians certainly don't want to call it out, because then they got to potentially lose some votes, because they're going to upset mommy and daddy whenever their little honor student gets mowed down slinging dope at the basketball court at 2 a.m. And speaking of local politicians who are trying to lie and mislead the public, Birmingham Police Department denies gang activity in Birmingham for calls of targeted mass shootings. Now, this was in reference to the outpouring and the people who are out crying about the things that are going wrong regarding specifically gang-related activity, which resulted in the 4 people being killed this past weekend because it was a, quote, targeted shoot per the media, per law enforcement. But this guy's trying to cover it up because he's doing a crappy job and his whole organization's doing a crappy job. So this is his way of saying, no, it's not really a gang activity type shooting. This was a targeted mass shooting. Notice how he says it's a targeted mass shooting, but he denies that it's gang activity. Saturday night's mass shooting in 5 Point South and Sunday night shooting in the East Lake community have both been dubbed, quote, targeted shootings by the Birmingham Police Department. It's a term used for many of the city's shootings, so they're even getting used to it being frequently used. Many were left wondering if there is gang activity on the streets of Birmingham. Public Information Officer Truman Fitzgerald said it's more complicated than that. Here in Birmingham, we have more so cliques and more so have neighborhood beefs, as opposed to what many people would think of as your traditional gangs. Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald, for making my point and my case for me. I'm sorry I used the term gang. If there's not a real official affiliation like the Crips and the Bloods, then we're wrong for calling them gangs, right? But as you more correctly and more accurately state, it's more so neighborhood beefs. It's more so cliques. I mean, they literally use the same word that I use. It's beefs with one another. These people are fighting. Maybe they're not an actual gang. Maybe they are a club. Maybe it's a gaggle of people who disagree with one another. I don't give a crap what you call it. Call them what you want. Call it a slumber party where shots broke out and 21 people got shot. I don't care what you call it. It's clearly, maybe use my phrase, call it confrontational shootings. But it's people who have a beef. The general public is only in danger of crossfire, which is what happened in this case. Only the one person who was killed by a rival slumber party member was the only target. The other 3 people who were killed were not targets. So the slumber party beef took out innocent lives. That's the only threat that you and I have regarding these types of slumber party events. I've said it before, unless you're slinging dope at the tennis courts at 2 a.m. in the morning, you probably don't have much to worry about with these mass shootings that they keep talking about. These people that were out at, I think it was 11 p.m. whenever this shooting took place, yeah, this looks like your real prototypical family environment to me, if you know what I mean. This is not a place that myself, my wife, and my 16-year-old son would probably be walking hand in hand down the road, just kind of admiring the scenery, if you know what I mean. They even suggest that no one else was really in any danger unless you were close to the target. He says in the case of Saturday night shooting, Chief Scott Thurman said, quote, "It wasn't location, it was the person." So wherever the person was is where it was going to take place. Wherever they can catch that individual, we believe that there was a hit on that person, if you will. Someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed. Now, I thought it was really ironic and really strange that their public information officer came out and said that it wasn't gang related, yet just earlier this month, last week in fact, Birmingham mayor calls for gang truce after 5 killed in violent start to weekend. So clearly there is a gang or a slumber party, Xbox club or something like that that's wreaking havoc in the area. They go on to state this was a targeted shooting. The shooter often knows the victim, or in the case of Saturday night's shooting, may have someone attack a certain person. Many of the gun deaths in Birmingham come from disagreements. There again, you're making my point. Quote, "These mass shootings," I don't know why they use that word, "have more to do with culture than they do with criminality." Are we going to start dropping truth bombs here? They just dropped a truth bomb. That might cost somebody an election. If nobody draws any attention to the fact that he says they have a culture problem, then maybe he gets off. But you see what he said. These mass shootings have more to do with culture than they do with criminality. That's also from your boy, Officer Truman Fitzgerald, the public information officer. Thought they'd slip that one by. We caught it. This guy is literally saying the same thing that we do. He's just using different words, and he's doing his best to avoid the word gang to protect the mayor, because the mayor obviously doesn't know what to do, and the mayor obviously was elected by parents of some of these, quote, gang members or slumber party assassins, whatever you'd like to call them. But clearly this guy is accurately displaying what the problem is. He's essentially saying people with beefs, just like we say, and he's saying that is a culture-related issue. I want you to take a look at some of these statistics from Birmingham, Alabama regarding crime, race and ethnic diversity. If you look at the makeup of the community, you will notice that at the very top, overwhelmingly, 68.4% of this community is made up of Black or African American people, with 23.4% being white people, and then it immediately drops way down to 4% Hispanic, 2.6% other race or 2 or more races. Now that's race, not culture. I'm not stating anything in regards to race being the problem. That's clearly not the problem. Culture is the problem. Now obviously if 68.4, a huge majority of the people in Birmingham are Black, then clearly there is a cultural issue amongst that 68.4%, because it doesn't seem like there's a big cultural exchange of that 23.4% or the Hispanics below that at 4% that's committing most of these crimes. You can look at crime statistics and it 1 gazillion% backs up exactly what I'm saying. So miss me with the race talk. This ain't about race. It may be about race, but I didn't make it up. I'm literally reading numbers. If the numbers hurt your feelings, you gotta click off the video, because I'm not responsible for your feelings being littered in the wake of my destruction of truth. Look at the income. This blew my mind. Per capita income in Birmingham is under $30,000. I mean, the U.S. average is 41. Look at the median household income. That's a total income for a household. USA's median household income is $75,000. Only $42,000 in Birmingham. An entire household bringing in 42 grand. Now you can't blame that on the mean old corporate bosses. That's some bad decision making. That's some really, now that's on the record, right? So if you're slinging dope, selling crack, then obviously that's not being captured right here because they aren't claiming those on their taxes. But that is definitely, that's a product of choices made when your median household income is that low compared to the United States. Because if it was so bad and you felt like you were a victim of there not being enough high paid jobs in Birmingham, then move, because the US average is 75. So you might be thinking, oh, they must have some pretty crappy industry over there in Birmingham, right? They don't have any good available jobs. Not so fast, my friend. Employment industries, healthcare, that's almost a fifth. That's almost a fifth of the jobs in Birmingham. 17.5%. That's crazy. Now, granted, right below that, retail, you're not going to have the highest paid jobs in retail. That, to me, is a pretty good indicator right there with the retail being so high at 12%. That's a huge chunk. That's more than 1 out of 10 people working retail. Boy, you know retail's not bringing in major bucks. I understand management and supervisors can make a little bit more, but your frontline employees in retail are not bringing in the big bucks. So that's a pretty high percentage right there. Now, again, like I stated, lots of people choose not to work and like other means of income, if you know what I mean. So again, that's not captured right here. But boy, that healthcare being almost 20%, there's a lot of good paying jobs in Birmingham. People are just either not taking them or they're not qualified for them. Main point, main takeaway from this is, boy, I wish I wasn't the only one, and I know that I'm not, but I wish more of us would talk out against the state-run media and talk out against these politicians whenever they cite and vomit these stupid little mass shooting numbers from the Gun Violence Archive and everybody else. You're hiding the problem, and we're letting them hide the problem when they put it under the rug and say, oh, we had another mass shooting. So there's an outcry for gun violence, and there's an outcry for a new gun law. I saw somebody is already pitching a new gun law in Alabama. There's this massive outcry for that. Meanwhile, the gangs are over here going, they're not even focusing on, we're the problem. We are literally the root cause of the problem. And these idiots are calling for more gun laws that we don't care about because we don't follow laws. But yeah, can you pass more gun laws, please? Because the people that we want to rob, you'll be taking their guns from them. This is the stupidest approach. This is absolutely stupid. For us not to call it what it is because we're afraid to hurt feelings, I don't care if you have to start calling it slumber party assassins. Name it what you want, but properly name it. Because by incorrectly identifying these problems, you can never, ever in a million lifetimes fix the problem. It's the beefs and the cliques and the problems people have with each other when they short each other, slinging dope, selling drugs, doing whatever else illegal activity they're doing. They shoot it out, and then all the honest law-abiding gun owners get hit with some stupid new law that comes out. We got to start calling this what it is. It's gang violence or it's something else by any other name. Stop calling these gang violence shootings mass shootings.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.